Welcome to North Tees and Hartlepool Voices, telling the stories of our people and community in our trust.
Hello, I'm Ellie Kennedy. In the studio today we have...
Hi, I'm Philippa from Freedom to Speak Up at South Tees.
Hi, I'm Jules. I'm the Freedom to Speak Up Guardian at North Tees.
Morning, I'm Sam. I'm the Freedom to Speak Up Guardian at South Tees.
Hi, and I'm Jim, and I'm the third Freedom to Speak Up Guardian at South Tees.
And we're here today to talk about...
Freedom to Speak Up Month, which is the whole of October.
So what it's all about?
So Freedom to Speak Up Month is it's a national campaign where it gives us an opportunity to locally celebrate speaking up within our organisation.
So Freedom to Speak Up Month, in the month of October, celebrates speaking up within an NHS organisation. Every NHS organisation has a Freedom to Speak Up Guardian or a Freedom to Speak Up programme, as we do here at University Hospital Tees. We have three guardians at South Tees. We have the one guardian, Jules, at North Tees. We're working closer and closer at the moment with the hospital group as the hospital group is developing. So Freedom to Speak Up Month is all about celebrating what it means to speak up. Speaking up is something that we feel obviously is very important. Speaking up protects patient safety and it helps to promote staff well-being.
I think it's probably really important to focus on speaking up and what it means to us as well and to staff within the organisation. So for me personally, speaking up is about feeling that there's definitely value in every voice, every single voice within the organisations that we work in, that there's value to hear it, to truly listen what is being said, what are we hearing, and then also what we're doing about it as well. I think when we speak, it's a big, brave step to take, but actually the so what afterwards, what's going to happen after we've spoken up is so invaluable.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Speaking up, not just important, obviously, within an organisation. Speaking up, I think, is the foundation of democracy, where everyone not just has the right to speak, they've also got a responsibility to speak. And I think if we speak up when we see something that's going wrong or something that could be done differently, something that could be done better, it's a way we can prevent harm, build trust, and develop as an organisation, as an NHS service.
I think also for me, speaking up is about that culture. I think we all within, any organisation have that accountability, to allow others to speak up. So, create those environments that people feel safe to speak up in the first place. The gold standard that, we're always trying to achieve is that sort of, that sort of open culture where people can, speak up openly within teams to line managers so that we can, learn things quickly that might be going wrong and that might affect, our working lives or, our patients, so that we can learn and grow and become the sort of best versions of ourselves, really, to get that really quality improvement.
I guess for me it's about the staff as well. It's a way for staff to be heard. Some people might not otherwise have a voice without us, and they might just need that extra little bit of support to approach the right person. I guess the Guardian role provides a safe and supportive environment for staff to do that, so they can raise concerns, and the ultimate aim is speaking up to just become business as usual across the group.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think also it's about that empowerment. It's empowering our staff. Sometimes people just want to, have an initial conversation with a guardian, and it might be around sort of relationships where there's a bit of conflict. And actually, just having that really good sort of listening, someone that actually stops everything they're doing and listens to them, can actually get them to the point that they feel actually empowered to go back to their person themselves without including a third party, and having that adult conversation that really, brings that harmonious relationship back. And ultimately, again, that's, something that we really want to achieve. We want to empower our staff to be able to have those sometimes difficult conversations, to be able to move forward positively.
And you mentioned difficult conversations there. Unfortunately, as we all know as guardians, it is difficult to speak up for many people. There are probably quite a few reasons for that. Sam, what do you think stops people speaking up?
There's lots of reasons, isn't there? It's different for everybody. Some people might think nothing will change if they do speak up. Some people might worry about what will happen. Sometimes people just have a lack of confidence and maybe doubt the validity of the concerns. And as a guardian, it's my aim to help people overcome those barriers.
I think, the sort of relationship between speaking up, listen up and follow up is really key. And like what Sam said, it's that futility that things, I might really put myself out there and be really courageous to speak up, but actually what's the point if nothing's going to change? So I think it's really important that, to help break those barriers, that we ensure that when we follow up, we really celebrate the following up, so that people know that they are being listened to. We want to make those changes. We want to be the best version of ourselves as an organisation. I think also, the fear aspect in terms of, what a lot of people will understand as detriment is a big barrier as well.
So you mentioned detriment there, and that's a very Guardian word. So when you say detriment, just for the benefit of people listening, what do we mean when we say detriment?
So detriment is sort of the sort of fear of things might change for them in their working life. So it might be someone might be wanting to go for a new job promotion, and they might worry that, by them speaking up, that they might not get that promotion. It might be that they worry about their sort of, their rota at work might change, where, it might become more difficult, and not the sort of rota that's been...
You mean that we're looking at someone getting a whole bunch of nights, worried that they might be given the bad shifts?
Yes, they might be given the shifts that no one wants to have.
Shifts,
yeah, the unpopular shifts. It might be that they feel outcasted by their peers, because peers might think that they've been disloyal, so suddenly their kind of environment is very different and uncomfortable. So all those could be sort of examples of where someone might feel as though they've, potentially suffered detriment.
And detriment doesn't necessarily happen. It's the fear of detriment sometimes is enough, isn't
Absolutely.
it? To stop people, even if that detriment maybe doesn't exist. So what about you, Philippa?
I think
people prevents people speaking up.
I think as well, there's an element of that understanding the process, actually what it is to speak up. So yes, we're here, we're visible. Hopefully people will get to know us as people and we can be approachable, but actually what is the process of speaking up? So where will that information go? I think it's all those types of questions that people might worry about, of how confidential is it. So I think it's really important around when we're educating and getting to people to understand the process, that there's those three elements to speaking up, that yes, you can come to us openly as guardians if you feel comfortable in doing that, and that's great. But also, if you are a little bit cautious or a little bit fearful, then actually your confidentiality, that will be maintained. And it's about really kind of affirming that to people and building up their confidence that when they come to speak to us individually as guardians, we will absolutely maintain that confidentiality as much as we can, unless there's those risks beyond that, or safeguarding, when...
Yeah, so if there was a safeguarding issue or a significant patient safety issue, then that obviously would mitigate, confidentiality, but we'd always, do our utmost to protect the identity of the person who is raising those issues. But obviously if there was that risk there, then we would have to escalate. But in cases that don't have those risks, then the person who is raising the concern is very sort of well sighted and in control in terms of how the concern is sort of escalated and who it's escalated to, once we talk through the sort of, different scenarios of escalation. And one of the things that we always consider and talk about when we're escalating concerns is around, impartiality. So we as guardians, we're very impartial. And that's one of the reasons why we don't investigate investigations, and that's why we escalate in the first place. But sometimes, situations can be quite complex. So we look and think, well, who is that impartial person in the organisation that can give that fair overview? And that might be your non-exec director, it might be your chairman. We at North Tees have also got a lead independent investigator. So again, that all really sort of states that sort of trust that we're really trying to, manage concerns really, really fairly, because ultimately, as I keep referring back to, it's all about the learning and the growing for the organisation, that growth, so that we can be the best versions of ourselves.
So yeah, we mentioned the reasons why people don't speak up, and I think we've moved on quite naturally, haven't we, to what makes it easier to speak up. So, we mentioned the reasons that people don't speak up: fear that something might happen to them, the idea that they're worried that nothing will ever change. It's been like this for 10 years, why would I say anything now? They feel that the organisation can't move on. And I think one of the important things that we have as guardians, that link, is we have the ability to raise that person's voice, raise it to the appropriate person or people or group. And we also are there to watch what happens as that voice, that concern, is listened to by the appropriate people or the manager, whoever it might be, and that action is taken. And I think that is one of the things for me that will make it easier for people to speak up is once they see, and you touched on this, Jules, just now, didn't you, earlier on, by saying people actually see a change as a result of somebody raising a concern. And I think what's really important, what will make it easy to speak up, is ensuring that everybody at every level within the organisation appreciates why speaking up is important. And that's not just with the staff who are raising the concerns, but everybody right up to the very, very top, the chairman, the CEO, the board, senior leaders. I remember when I first started this job and raising a concern with the manager, and the response that I got was quite dismissive. And as we've worked as guardians, as I've worked as a guardian over the last 2 years, I found that attitude amongst managers, although it still does exist in places, in small parts, that it is changing, and people do see the benefit. Not just the people who are raising the concerns, the people who are voicing the problems, but the people who are actually receiving those. They're taking them on board, and they're following up, and they're making significant changes, positive changes in the organisation. And I think the more that's seen by every member of staff in the organisation, the more it will become, we mentioned this term, didn't we, business as usual, to speak up and raise concerns where they exist.
And I think that's where the training, so obviously we've got the speak up training, that's for core workers, we've got the listing up training for middle managers, and we've got the follow-up training, which is for your execs, your NEDs and your governors. And I think, as we keep saying, there's a relationship between all three, and I think that training really helps people to know their sort of part in speaking up. Also, there's workshops that we do, using those as a framework, which again I think is really beneficial in terms of giving that sort of objectivity and that sort of conversation in a quite an informal kind of manner, where we can just sort of learn about our responsibilities and our experiences. And I think that all helps change that culture that we're trying to get to business as usual through that education side of things. And I think that's we've seen the benefits of that over the last year.
For me, when I was thinking about what makes it easier, there was key words that really stood out to me. So it was things like that commitment, which I think we've referred to, the seeing it in action, visibility I think is massive, and also engagement. So really having across all levels within the organisations, within the group model, that actually there's that engagement with freedom to speak up, that everyone's committed to having it as business as usual.
Yeah, for me it goes back to the staff members again, just having that confidence that they'll be listened to, taken really seriously, and for some I guess just feeling that they've been heard and taken seriously, even if nothing much changes. And again, that assurance that when they do speak up, it'll be handled sensitively, potentially if required. We'll keep in touch with them and support them through whatever process they've got.
So how do people get in touch with you?
There are myriad ways that people can do that. Thanks, Elliot. So they can get in touch with us different ways depending on the trust that you work with. So what are the ways that people can contact you here at North Tees, Jules?
So on SharePoint, we've got a Freedom to Speak Up page, and my contact details are on there, so people can contact me through my phone or email, and that's all documented. There's posters all over on all the areas of me, and again that's got all my contact details on as well.
At South Tees, you can get us on extension 55516. We've got our email, which is sts.freedomtospeakup@nhs.net. We've got a Facebook page. At South Tees we have an online reporting tool as well, which can be accessed from the intranet, and you can raise your concern online. And we also have a Twitter page.
So accessing on the intranet, quite simply, go onto the intranet. If you type in Freedom to Speak Up, our page will appear. If you actually type into the intranet online reporting tool into the search bar, you will be taken to that. And the online reporting tool is really useful because the information will come straight to the guardians. It won't be seen by anybody else. You can leave your name on the report, or you can omit your name or contact details from the report. So if you are really worried about being identified, then you are able to still get in touch. Obviously, if you come to us without any contact information, we can't follow up. If you've got any further questions, do try and give as much detail as you possibly can. And obviously, we can't feed back to you and let you know what changes have occurred as the result of you speaking up to us. If you can come to us confidentially, give us a first name, maybe a contact number, we can actually have that dialogue with you and support you further.
One of the things I would also like to mention is that we've got the Speaking Up policy. Again, at North Tees you can see this on SharePoint, and it talks about all the different ways you can speak up. So it's not just about, going to your line manager. Obviously, we would always say that's the gold standard. But also it's all the other different routes. So, for example, if your concern was around a fraud case, we've got, a fraud specialist team that you can, get in touch with, whether that's openly or anonymously. So do look at the freedom to speak up policy as well. And there's also, people are fully within their right to go externally if they feel as though they can't raise their concern internally. So that could be NHS England, the Care Quality Commission, the GMC, the NMC. Again, it's all written down. There's a national
helpline for whistleblowing as well.
Yeah. So again, that's all in the speaking up policy. So do have a look at that as well.
And that's the same. There's separate policies at the moment at North Tees and South Tees, but obviously those policies are very, very similar and will contain that information. Similarly, all our contact details will be on that policy.
Also, a bit of a plug from me, and I'm sure I speak for everyone here. We are constantly wanting to recruit freedom to speak up champions.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, can I just stop you there, Jules? Again, I'm just conscious of the fact, obviously, people listening might not know what a champion is. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah.
What does a champion do?
So freedom to speak up champions are there to promote freedom to speak up, really demonstrate the values of freedom to speak up. They've got hopefully a good understanding of the provision, so they can provide that education to staff and colleagues. Really look at their supporting us in breaking down the barriers of speaking up, and role modelling, and also signposting. So they're great champions for if they come to them, if you've got a concern or a discussion that you need to have, they will absolutely signpost you to the right place to take that forward.
In terms of the support for the champions, we will train the champions. We do quarterly network meetings.
I've been to one of your network meetings, and there were some very nice refreshments there.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, we will always supply a bit of a lunch as well. But there's lots of support. The Freedom to Speak Up champions get one-to-ones, and ultimately it's whatever you are able to give to the role. Obviously, you will need your line manager sign off permission, but anything that we get involved with, and you'll see through communications, all the things we've got going on in Speak Up Month, and that's the sort of things that the champions can really get involved with. It's something that the exec teams, the group execs, really support. And some of the champions that I have already, often say that they're doing skills in the champion role, even though it's voluntary, that they don't use in their day-to-day job. So there's some really good transferable skills from the champion role as well.
Can you just tell us how you might like to become a champion at North Tees?
So if you'd like to become a champion at North Tees, then as I say, my contact details are on SharePoint. If you get in contact with me, then I will send you an expressions of interest, a line manager's sign-off form, and some information with regards to the role. Following that, there'll be an informal, conversation just to sort of go through, the reasons of wanting to become a champion. And then following that, that's when we'll do the training to train you up as one of our Freedom to Speak Up champions. It's a very rewarding role.
And South Tees, Sam, what would we ask?
Very similar to North Tees. It's obviously just get in contact with us. Let us know that you fancy being a champion. We'll have an informal discussion. We'll send you the forms. Your manager to sign off. We'll get you to do the speak up training, and
we have quarterly meetings and regular catch-ups with all our champions. Anything else you want to add regarding champions, Philippa?
No, I don't think so.
Thank you very much. Just one last question, if you don't mind, can we just ask, tell me about a time, Philippa, that you have spoken up. What happened?
So I personally, in a previous role, not within this organisation, very early on in my career within healthcare, there was an error with a patient's medication that I had to kind of take forward and report. It was a really difficult process. It took me out of my comfort zone, but I knew it was the right thing to do in order to promote the patient's safety and the safety of the staff. The actual reaction from my colleague, unfortunately, wasn't the best. It was really uncomfortable, but actually what happened was I was supported really well by my manager in having those discussions to take it forward. Felt supported, felt heard, and saw the follow-up action from it. So it was a positive experience in the fact that I got to see an outcome. I appreciate that isn't always the case for some, but for me it was very positive.
I actually used the Freedom to Speak Up service at my previous organisation. It wasn't something that could be addressed by the organisation. It did end up being addressed by an external organisation, but I was actually really inspired by the support I got from the Guardians, and that's what inspired me at this role.
So speaking up can happen, like I say, inside of work, outside of work. My recent example of speaking up is working. When I was out and about, noticed somebody was in a wheelchair waiting at the crossing to cross the road, waiting for the green man. And the green man came on, and somebody came up behind him and pushed him across. And he objected, which I think is kind of fair enough. And I actually went and spoke to that person directly, spoke up, saying, you've basically just taken somebody's independence away by doing that. It wasn't received very well, but I did get, obviously, thanks from the person in the wheelchair for actually sticking my head above the parapet, if you like, and actually saying, well, actually, no, that's not on. There's a couple of very different ways of speaking it.
Well, thank you all for coming in, and we look forward to another chat at some point in the future.
Thank
you very much indeed.
Thank you for joining us. Till next time, you've been listening to NTH Voices.